Hey everybody, welcome back to Lunch Hour VR. I am your host, Max Noir, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Tom Ffiske. Thanks so much for being here, Tom, and how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I actually bought a new webcam just for this session, and I've just noticed how fisheye it is. It feels like the whole world is curving behind me. It's a bit strange.
It does. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when I do 360 footage and then I'm looking at one lens at a time, and it's like definitely a bit fisheye, like wide lens. That's the vibe that I'm getting right now, but it looks kind of cool.
I'll just enjoy my little bubble as well as my social bubble as well.
Well, I'm really honored that you got a webcam for that. That makes me feel very special.
No, it's also because the webcam was truly terrible. I spotted Skiva was in the chat, and as we would know from me chatting to Skiva a few weeks ago, it looked like I was trapped in a VHS set, basically, with all like the fuzzy lines and looking really bad, basically. It was quite entertaining, actually, in a way.
You could call it art. As we were just talking
yeah.
about pre-show, you can call lots of things art these days, but we'll get to that later. I did want to point out that Skiva, before the show even started, said, "Yay, Tom, this is going to be a great show." So I can see that people are excited to have you here, which makes me excited. So thanks for that, Skiva.
Yeah, looking forward to disappointing everyone else as well. Let's find out.
So where in the world are you during this crazy time?
During this, London. It's not like I can go anywhere else in this crazy world during this crazy time. I'm still stuck in London. And I think it's going to be the same as here, as how it's been in the US, where it's just everyone's just feeling itchy feet. They kind of want to go outside and do stuff, but they can't. They have to stay safe. They're staying inside. And while they're staying inside, they're either picking up new hobbies or doing new things.
Awesome. So what are some of these hobbies that you've been picking up?
I've been doubling down my newsletter. So I've just been focusing on the growth of it as much as I can, and also writing a fair bit as well. And also experimenting, making mistakes, learning from the mistakes, and going through as well. I think it's the same with everyone else here, actually. They've just been recalibrating on their lives and what's important to them currently. So I think this has been a little bit of recalibration happening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us more about your newsletter, and I guess that's what you're referring to when you're talking about sort of what's important to you right now.
I mean, in the grand scheme of life, it's not an important thing at all. It's an email I send, what used to be once a week, but will now be twice a week. And it's just literally my thoughts in the industry. It's hit its 1 year anniversary, and it's grown from, over the last year, from 300 subscribers to 3,000. And
Wow.
it's because there's a market of people who just want all the VR news they can all in one place, which they can read nice and quickly, basically, because work lives are quite stressful and time consuming at the moment. So it's quite nice to have something brief. And I've also found that there's been a spike of interest in immersive technologies as well, principally in virtual reality, but also in augmented reality as well. And there's some lots of creative stuff happening there as well. I see Lucas is in the chat, and Lucas has been doing some very cool stuff. The most recent one I've seen him do was the Marauders map, which was awesome, and something he should be proud of.
Did you notice that I was in that for like a millisecond?
Yeah. He's also referencing my Twitter profile piece, which I do like as a drawing. I've forgotten the artist, but when I do find out, I'll just send him a tweet. It's really, really good neat little cute drawing.
I've seen your photo, and you know, like when you're in XR Twitter and that's something that you're sort of a part of, and you're constantly seeing like the same faces over and over again, you get used to the people, you know them through Twitter, but maybe you haven't met yet in real life. So I think I've been seeing your illustration of you for a few years now. I'm just like, who is this doodle?
Who is the doodle? And likewise with you, Max Noir, because I've known you for like about a year now. And my first impression when I saw you is like, wow, that is the coolest name ever, Max Noir. Straight out of a comic book. It's great.
I really appreciate it. And for anyone who is curious or wants to know, because I get this question all the time, no, I was not born with that name. Sorry, mom, if you're watching. But if you're gonna change your name, like you have to make it cool, right? You only get one shot. Um, Cue Eminem. But
Cue
yeah.
Eminem. Yeah.
Cool. So tell us more about your newsletter, and where we can find it and how we can get access to it.
Of course. So if you just Google Immersive Wire newsletter, it should be the first result. And basically what it is on Wednesdays, it's just a very brief summary of the news happening around the world. And then on Sundays, what I'm going to do is it's going to be a longer read with my longer thoughts, best with like a cup of tea or some coffee, which you can just read through on the lounge or sofa, with a Q&A also with just someone I find quite interesting. And it's just kind of like me following the industry, both big players and small players, and what's happening. So I've got a very broad view of what companies are up to and what's kind of cool stuff happening, who's kind of been making money and who's doing some strange things. I do add an element of fun to it, and I'm also critical where I can, because I do see some looping things. So I'm just not quite sure how well they can do. But yeah, it's a fun space to work in, very dynamic, a lot of innovation happening. And a lot of, from what I've spotted, a lot of companies trying to provide tools and help and content and advice on how to progress within the industry as well.
Very cool. Now, I know that there are some other publications out there that focus on VR news, AR news, and I know that earlier you mentioned that you try to sort of make it like a digestible, comprehensive, easy newsletter to read through, so that you sort of get like the synopsis of what's going on. Is that what you would say would sort of like set you apart from other XR news outlets?
Yes and no. I think with a lot of XR news outlets, they want to like, they've been doing an amazing job because they cover the news in depth with their own thoughts. And if you go on their homepage each day, you always find some news stories about what's happening. All I serve is as a way for people to just get those same insights, but just more briefly. I always add the hyperlinks as well, so they can click through if they want to learn more. But it's just so they can literally just glance through and learn the stories as they go along. It's very similar to Azim Azur's Exponential View newsletter, which is excellent. That's been my inspiration for it. You also get the same with Benedict Evans, who's another inspiration as well, who's a very, very clever person based in London who's been analyzing the tech across the sector.
Awesome. So, question for you. Are you on Clubhouse yet?
No, because I use an Android. I'm looking forward to when they can actually do Android stuff, because I would love to hop in, because I know there's a lot of people on Clubhouse in the moment, and I feel like I'm feeling FOMO. I wish I can join in.
I remember I made a tweet the other day, because I feel, trust me, I have empathy for my poor Android users, but I also kind of have to smirk a little bit, because I feel like in XR and development and such, Apple is always left out and not prioritized in terms of, how we can develop apps and things like that. Everything is sort of optimized for PC, for Android. So I'm sort of in the corner, like laughing a little bit while also trying to be empathetic for the other side.
I'm actually really surprised you say that, because I would have thought if you're a startup, you would be prioritizing Apple rather than Android. Did you hear the opposite?
Well, what do you mean when you're saying like in terms of a startup? Do you mean like, administrative? Because I'm talking more so like, doing development work. If you want to get into like Unreal and Unity and things like that, if you're an Apple user, it's not so great.
Oh, I see. I misinterpreted then, because my understanding is if you're starting a new company and you want your app to be onboarded as quickly as possible, you make the iOS version first, purely because it's got the highest user base, it's easier to develop on, and it's easiest to deploy. While Android is tricky because there's so many different Android models which it has to work with. So I was only thinking from that perspective.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I'm more talking about like XR because I've been trying to dabble a little bit in Unity here and there, but it's so crappy. Like I can use Unity on my Mac, but if I
Hmm.
want to, be testing it, in real time on my headset, I can't. Like I have to like export it, plug it into the headset and then test it. It's a huge struggle. I can see Daniel, who was on my show last, is not a fan of Apple.
I'm getting that gist as well. It's interesting that you're hearing about your struggles with Unreal. Sorry, is that your primary platform for development, or is it more like Unity or any other ones you want to develop VR for?
I mean, I literally just started, and the only software that I've ever opened for development has been Unity. So that's the only thing I can really speak to right now. But I do remember hearing from quite a bit of people who prefer to use Apple that the sort of world of development in XR specifically is not Apple friendly.
That's really interesting to hear. This is actually the first I've heard about that, and now that I think about it, it does kind of make sense. Are they talking more for like virtual reality or just augmented reality?
I'm actually not sure. So maybe someone in the comments. I see some people
I
are
feel like
commenting.
I feel like Lucas would know. So if Lucas can like actually comment with his thoughts, I'll be really interested.
Lucas can pop in and he says Apple emoji, poop emoji. So that
Right,
says it all.
there's the answer. Yeah,
Yeah. I
real.
mean, I do know Lucas has a Mac and he also has a PC, but he only develops on his PC. So I guess that's something. This is from Oscar. Hi, Oscar. It's not Apple friendly because Mac's GPU power is crap.
The more we know.
I guess the more we know. So I want to sort of ask you, like, what is something in the space that you're just super stoked about right now?
Generally speaking, or just from this week?
Whatever you want to say.
Hi. I feel like everyone's got opinions on Microsoft Mesh at the moment, so we can talk about a little bit about that. Really interesting announcement from Microsoft. They invited a bunch of media about a week ago to trial it out. People were really impressed by it. Smartest thing they did is it's not reliant on their HoloLens 2 product. It's very software agnostic across phones and PCs and headsets, which is super smart. The question mark I have is what's going to be the most popular use? I'd imagine it'll be more for work collaboration and meetings would be the most useful elements for it. But they kept showing examples of Niantic with Pokemon Go, showing how it could be used for traversing the world with Pokemon. So my question mark is, who's it for? And who's going to be the most popular audience for it?
Interesting. So for those who are watching who don't know what Microsoft Mesh is, can you give us like a quick synopsis here?
Microsoft Teams with avatars is my basic summary. Basically think of it as Altspace VR, where it's like people collaborating, only it's much more streamlined. So you can like basically pop in with like a little avatar and collaborate in meetings or talk to one another. And it can also be a basis for developing your own worlds and experiences as well. It makes me think, so the company bought Altspace VR either last year or 2 years ago. And it makes me think that the acquisition was in part because of the platform as well as the communities that Altspace VR has built. But it's also now it's quite clear they also wanted to do talent acquisition as well to develop Microsoft Mesh.
Interesting. And when you're talking about this, I'm thinking of some of the other sort of social collaboration VR apps out there, like Engage, like some other apps. So like what can we look to Microsoft Mesh for that's going to set them apart from these other apps?
It comes with Dynamics 365. So what you get is the fact that it's something which you get as part of your subscription to Dynamics 365. It's a package deal, and you would use it as part of the services which you receive from your subscription. It is also available separately. I need to actually do a bit deep on the details of that, but I believe that most of the users will come via that subscription to Dynamics, and that's why I think the focus is going to be more on collaboration and work as such. Like, sorry, while I was talking, I'm just seeing what everyone's been saying as well. Let's see, SDK focused multiplayer. Yes, I agree with you, Lucas. A little focus on multiplayer as well.
Cool. And when is it released yet? And if not, when?
I'm actually not sure. I'm not 100% sure on the release date.
All right. Well, hopefully you will be one of the first people to get to try that once it is.
That would be fun.
Putting a note out there to the universe, give Tom access. Cool. So
honestly, I mean, okay, here's a question for you though. If there was like a virtual event for anything, what would you like to attend?
For anything. I feel like I need like 30 minutes to like mull this over. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of virtual events, or I at least have not yet been to one where I felt like I was super engaged and having a good enough time that like other distractions like, you know, my phone or my Twitter notifications, you know, didn't pull me out of that event, or, you know, a nap even.
Interesting.
So we have like our computer conferences, you know, like our web-based conferences and things like that, where you're just popping into different stages via like a Zoom type situation. But then we also have our VR events, where I'm sort of feeling the same. Lately, I've been feeling a little bit like social VR fatigued. And I don't know if anybody who's watching has experienced this as well. But yeah, I just have trouble like having the passion and like, you know, wanting to put the effort into putting my headset on, maybe updating Altspace or whatever it is, and then jumping in and finding that event. And if I do go, I oftentimes bow out a little bit early. Yeah, I think for me, I just don't yet feel, or I haven't found the right platform for me where I feel engaged enough to be having fun. So I guess to answer your question, I have no idea because I don't think about it too much. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, it sounds like to me that you're just fatigued by VR generally, because it's quite tiring to be in a VR headset all the time, and you just feel kind of fatigued for even donning it, which is completely understandable. We're currently in a world where we're in front of screens all the time. It's not healthy. And I think a lot of people are getting tired by donning headsets during this time where we are reliant on the screens we are to stay connected.
Totally. And Lucas just said, it's hard for a lot of people to connect with avatars. It's a weird abstraction. I do agree with that. I mean, avatars can be super fun sometimes in the way that they sort of enable you to customize who you are. So that can be therapeutic. It can be fun. It can be silly. But yeah, I think for me, it's better to connect face to face, and social VR has been great during the pandemic where it's hard to connect face to face. But I think I was way more into social VR towards the beginning of COVID than I am now. But I have to say, I'm a big fan of Engage VR. They've been on the show before here. And because I love that you can upload a picture of your face, and they do a really good job of like mapping your face onto your avatar. So if you want, you can look semi-photorealistic, at least in the face region. So I'm a fan of that, and I'm a fan of how you can spawn like weather and big tigers and dragons, and it's a lot of fun to go have meetings and to learn and engage. But what is your favorite social VR app?
VR chats is nice and easy to pop into a new world and try some stuff out. And it's just quite fun to try some new experiences on there. On the avatar aspect, I don't know. It's the same argument. Like, there's been scientific papers written on people's identities and avatars. And so it's a very expansive topic. To grossly summarize my views, I remember playing World of Warcraft and associating more with the character models of the players rather than the players themselves, especially with someone which I have not met in real life before. And the same can happen in virtual reality as well. So if you do see someone who's an avatar of a particular being, then you just associate you in your head with that person if you regularly meet them. That's the key aspect, if you do it regularly. And so that's my views on Avatar and such like. I do want to go to more social things, purely because we're reaching not the end of the pandemic, but we're getting there. And there would have been communities formed during this time. And I really want to do a little deep dive into how the communities are. Like, how are people hanging? How comfortable are people feeling? And whether they're going to meet up once it is over. I think there'll be some really interesting stories coming out of this period.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's a group of XR artists, if you're listening, you know who you are, who regularly meet in different worlds in VR. And it's sort of like a little group of friends, and they're best friends, and they post videos of their adventures in VR. And I
is
look
it called
at this
XR
and I'm like,
Crowd by any chance?
XR what?
XR Crowd, is it called?
I'm not sure. I think it's XR something, but I don't remember exactly what their name is, but I think they have their own Twitter. But yeah, they're literally just friends who make art and build worlds and just like world hop together in their free time. And I always watch these videos and I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. So maybe I would have more fun if I had like a little, posse of best friends who would meet me in there. But I do feel like, for the most part, I don't have like IRL friends who I can meet in VR worlds because my friends just haven't adopted virtual reality yet. So basically, the people I'm meeting are the people who I work with. So I guess it feels more like when I go to an event, like I'm going to network instead of like going to play. So I guess for me, like things will change once, the masses have adopted VR and I can actually meet like my best friends in there.
That'll be nice. Or just meet your best friends generally. That'll be nice as well.
Yeah, that's a better option, honestly.
This is why I've been considering like the role of virtual reality after this pandemic. Like how many people are going to be meeting in VR once we can meet in real life? I'm not sure, if I'm honest. I think it's a two-pronged thing. One is restriction, and the other one's the software, because the software needs to be good enough. Microsoft Mesh, we just don't know if it's good enough yet. We don't know, or how easy it is to use. If it's easy to use, then all hell will break loose. It'll be super interesting to see Mesh be picked up, but we just need to get the software to be crystal perfect, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question that you raise. I mean, right now, as someone who works for a VR production company, we have been getting just like masses of inquiries about people wanting to build like their own custom branded, personal meeting spaces in VR for events and meetings and things like that. And it's super, super, super cool. But I also wonder, like, how much is this going to stick around post-pandemic? I am also a little bit of a skeptic in terms of that. But then I think about some of the announcements that have come from major tech conglomerates. I think it was Twitter, Facebook, and some other companies who have publicly announced that they are thinking about allowing their employees to continue to work from home post-pandemic because they've seen that it's successful. So this is an interesting thing. VR is really expensive to have all of the hardware, to have, electricity, headsets, software, everything. But so is having like massive buildings and paying rents on office buildings every week. So yeah, it's a curious topic.
There was actually a study in The Economist where if you are not commuting, there's still the additional cost of setting up your home to have also like a working space as well. And that's expensive because you're also redoing a part of your house to fit what you need for working from home as well. So costs are deferred, costs shift. It's not as straightforward as working from home is cheaper than working in the office. It's not.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I guess the individual employee will probably see their costs go up, at least temporarily, whereas the company will probably see their costs go down.
Yeah. If I were being quite a nefarious company, if I was a multinational company, I would love working from home because I can get high quality talent in another country while paying cheaper. So it's a common, not an issue, issue is the wrong word. It's a common facet of business where the US and UK is quite expensive for hiring certain skills, whereas you can get those same skills in other countries. So in theory, if you really wanted to, you can hire people remotely who can do the same job for cheaper if you wanted to.
Right. Absolutely. That's something that, I think about a lot because my company is based in Eastern China. And I think there's 33 of us right now on the team. I'm the only person in the US, and then we have one person in Spain. And so, yeah, we're constantly looking at sort of like the differences in hiring capabilities in terms of what resources we have access to. And it's really very interesting. But the work from home, evolution in the world is going to be, I think, a really interesting shift for international teams or teams that are looking to go international.
I think so too. It's an interesting world we're walking into business-wise.
Absolutely. Well, we are already nearing the end of the show. That went by really fast.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed their lunches.
I do too. And you know what? For me, it's 1:30. For you, it's what time?
It's 7:30 in the evening.
Cool. So I like to say it's lunch somewhere.
Yeah, it's lunch somewhere.
Yeah, just like your newsletter, I think I like to prioritize digestible bits from professionals who know what they're talking about to just give some insights to the people in the span of a lunchtime.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to have given people some morsels of thought for today, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their workday as well.
Awesome. Do you have any closing thoughts or ideas?
I run a newsletter. If you want to sign up, go for it. I'm also very chatty on Twitter, so do @Tom Ffiske, Ffiske. It's not my fault spelled that way. Blame my parents. And I'm quite a chatty person. I love a good debate, so hit me up at any time.
Awesome. So everyone make sure to give Tom a follow and think about subscribing to his newsletter, which is awesome. I just subscribed a couple of weeks ago when I stumbled upon your Oculus Quest 2 giveaway, which is still going on, or no?
No, unfortunately not. The winner's been chosen and will be announced next week. But I will be doing another giveaway. There's a company which I want to work with, and hopefully I'll be able to announce that in April. Not April the 1st, but sometime in April.
So subscribe or you might miss out on the next great giveaway. So thank you so much, Tom. And before we hop off, I need to do my due diligence and just thank everyone. We started the show at the beginning of COVID from 0. We've been building slowly, and we got, I think, like 6 new patrons in the last week, which is really just the beginning, and we reached 10. So thank you, everyone who signed up to be a patron. Your support is everything. That's Jason Harrison, Daliso N, Kirsten Clodfelter, Robyn Smith, Kevin Gibson, and ARVR leaders. So thank you guys so much. And if you guys want to consider supporting, you can go to patreon.com/MaxNoir. Tom, thank you so much for being on here. I had a great time, and I hope that we can catch up another time soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, and hope to see you in the future.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.